$50,000 for the girl? Done. The words echoed through Lily's mind as she discovered her stepmother had literally sold her to a billionaire. Standing in the massive foyer of Westwood Estate, luggage at her feet, Lily fought to control the trembling in her hands as reality crashed down around her. This wasn't employment, this was ownership. Hey there, Story Trail family. If you're new here, this is exactly why you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. These powerful stories of betrayal, resilience, and unexpected romance are what make this channel special, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Your support means everything to me, so take a second to subscribe before we continue this incredible journey. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone who should protect you? That gut-wrenching moment when you realize the person meant to be your guardian is actually your greatest threat? For Lily Rose, this betrayal came in the form of a contract, her stepmother Vivian trading her like property to clear mysterious debts following her father's death. What would you do if you found yourself essentially owned by one of the world's most powerful men? Marcus Blackwood didn't become a billionaire CEO by being kind or patient. His reputation for ruthless efficiency and emotional detachment preceded him. Now Lily was contractually bound to his household with nowhere else to go, no money of her own, and no one to turn to for help. How will Lily survive in this gilded cage? And what happens when the billionaire discovers the truth about how she came to his door? Will she become just another possession to a man who has everything, or will her presence awaken something neither of them expected to find? Welcome to Mr. Raw Story Trail, where we bring you compelling American stories with powerful messages that entertain while they teach. I'm your host, and today's story might just be our most gripping one yet. For those of you who've been with us on this journey, you know we explore the depths of human experience, the triumphs, the tragedies, and those unexpected moments that change lives forever. If this is your first time here, you're joining us for a truly remarkable tale. What makes our stories unique is how they reflect real human emotions and challenges. We don't shy away from difficult subjects, but we always find the light within the darkness, the strength that emerges from adversity, and the lessons that help us grow. Our community of story lovers has been growing steadily because we connect through these shared experiences. Your comments telling me how these narratives have touched your lives or made you think differently about situations you've faced. That's what drives me to find and share these stories. Today's story touches on themes of loss, manipulation, unexpected connection, and the courage to reclaim your own power. It's about discovering your worth in a world that tries to assign you a price tag. It's about two people from completely different worlds finding understanding in the most unlikely circumstances. So settle in. Perhaps grab something to drink and prepare yourself for a journey that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. This is the story of Lily Rose and Marcus Blackwood, a tale that begins with a transaction but transforms into something neither of them could have anticipated. Thomas Rose had raised his daughter Lily with books, kindness, and dreams of a better future. His unexpected death left her with only memories, a beloved but struggling bookstore, and a stepmother whose true nature emerged the moment the funeral ended. Vivian Reynolds had married Thomas for his modest assets, not for love, and certainly not to become a mother to his teenage daughter. Within months, Vivian had sold the bookstore, liquidated Thomas's accounts, and drained what should have been Lily's inheritance. When even those funds ran dry, Vivian explored more desperate options to maintain her lifestyle. That's when she discovered an unusual opportunity through an elite staffing agency catering to the ultra-wealthy. Marcus Blackwood needed someone to organize his extensive private library at Westwood Estate. Reclusive, despite his public success, he preferred minimal interaction with his staff. The position required someone who could work independently, maintain complete discretion, and live on the premises. Most importantly, it required someone with no connections who might distract from their duties. A perfect solution for Vivian's problem. A grief-isolated stepdaughter with nowhere to go and no resources of her own. What Vivian didn't consider was that her stepdaughter had inherited her father's quick mind and observant nature. Lily might arrive at Westwood as a victim of circumstance, but that didn't mean she would remain one. Nor did Vivian understand that Marcus Blackwood's cold exterior concealed depths no one had been permitted to see, depths that might recognize something familiar in the quiet dignity of his newest employee. As Lily steps through the imposing doors of Westwood Estate, she has no idea that this arrangement, begun in betrayal, will challenge everything both she and Marcus believe about themselves and each other. She doesn't know that behind his calculated efficiency lies a man haunted by his own past. He doesn't realize that beneath her necessary compliance waits a mind that will fascinate him and a spirit that will eventually match his own. Neither suspects that what begins as a simple business arrangement will evolve into something neither is prepared to face, especially when the truth of how Lily came to Westwood finally emerges. This is where our story begins, with a young woman sold to pay debts, a powerful man who believes emotions are inefficient, and the unexpected connection that will ultimately transform them both. Westwood Estate stands isolated on 50 acres of manicured grounds, its Gothic architecture and high walls designed to keep the world at bay. For Marcus Blackwood, it represents not just a home but a fortress, a place where he can maintain complete control over his environment and limit unpredictable human interactions that might disrupt his carefully ordered existence. The staff knows the rules: efficiency above all, minimal conversation, absolute discretion, no personal questions, no unnecessary communication, no disruptions to Mr. Blackwood's precise schedule and exacting standards. Those who cannot adapt to these requirements don't last long. Into this rigid system comes Lily, emotionally raw from loss, financially desperate, and completely unprepared for the cold reality of her new position. Her belongings fit in 2 suitcases. Her world has contracted to the choices made by others, yet within her burns the quiet determination inherited from her father, who taught her that knowledge is power and that stories can change lives. The library she's tasked with organizing spans 3 floors of the East Wing, thousands of volumes collected over generations, many rare and valuable. Marcus expects the project completed within specific parameters and an ambitious timeline. He has no interest in the person doing the work, only in the results. What he doesn't anticipate is finding handwritten notes appearing between categorized sections, insightful observations about thematic connections between texts, questions about contradictory philosophies presented in adjacent works, even occasional literary jokes that demonstrate a mind engaging deeply with the material, rather than simply organizing it. When a rare first edition is discovered damaged, any other employee might have hidden it, fearing repercussions. Instead, Marcus finds Lily attempting restoration techniques learned in her father's bookstore. Her hands steady, her focus absolute. She doesn't notice his presence until he speaks. It's the first real conversation between owner and owned, between a man who measures value in productivity and a woman determined to prove her worth extends beyond a price tag. Neither realizes it's the beginning of a gradual shift that will eventually dismantle the walls each has built for different reasons. As days turn to weeks, their carefully maintained distance begins to narrow. Brief exchanges become actual conversations. Professional respect evolves into genuine interest. 2 people who have learned not to trust begin to recognize something in each other that defies the transactional nature of their beginning. But shadows loom over this tentative connection. Vivian grows increasingly desperate as her remaining funds dwindle. The truth about Lily's employment remains hidden, and Marcus, whose business success is built on uncovering information others wish to conceal, has begun to question the circumstances that brought this unusual young woman to his door. What happens when a man who demands absolute honesty discovers the lie at the foundation of their relationship? What occurs when vulnerability becomes unavoidable between 2 people determined to remain self-sufficient? And how does one navigate the impossible power imbalance between owner and owned if feelings deeper than professional respect begin to emerge? The answers will test them both in ways neither could have imagined when Lily first crossed the threshold of Westwood Estate, challenging their perceptions of themselves, each other, and what it truly means to be free. Willowbrook wasn't just a town on the map for Lily Rose. It was the center of her universe. Nestled along the coastline where fishing boats dotted the harbor and salt air mingled with the scent of fresh bread from Miller's Bakery, the town embodied small-town charm without feeling isolated. For Lily, it represented security, community, and endless possibilities. At the heart of her world stood Rose's Books and Curiosities, her father's beloved bookstore. Located in a converted Victorian building with large bay windows and creaking wooden floors, the shop drew both locals and summer tourists. Thomas Rose wasn't just a bookseller, he was a curator of dreams, a matchmaker between readers and stories they didn't yet know they needed. Books are more than paper and ink, he often told Lily as she helped arrange displays or track inventory. They're doorways to understanding ourselves and others. Never underestimate the power of a story to change a life. Lily inherited her father's love for literature and his warm, thoughtful nature. By 16, she could recommend the perfect novel for any customer who walked through their door. The locals adored her, often bringing small gifts, Mrs. Jenkins' lemon tarts or Mr. Abernathy's fresh flowers from his garden, simply because her kind presence brightened their days. Her childhood wasn't extravagant but was rich in experiences. Thomas ensured his daughter received both education and wisdom. Weekends meant hikes along coastal trails, impromptu history lessons about local landmarks, or quiet afternoons fishing off the old pier. Her mother had passed away when Lily was only 4, a faint memory of lavender scent and gentle laughter, but Thomas had created a home where her absence, while felt, wasn't a void that consumed them. Their modest 2-story house on Maple Street, with its wraparound porch and garden where wildflowers grew alongside vegetables, provided the perfect backdrop for Lily's formative years. Her bedroom overlooked the garden, allowing her to fall asleep to the sound of waves in the distance and wake to birdsong. Everything changed when Thomas, at 46, married Vivian Reynolds. The wedding was small, held in their backyard beneath strung lights and a canopy of stars. At first, Lily welcomed Vivian with cautious optimism. Her father deserved happiness, and Vivian, with her polished appearance and charming smile, seemed to bring that into their lives. "She makes your father happy, Mrs. Chen," their elderly neighbor who had become a surrogate grandmother to Lily, observed at the wedding reception. "That's worth giving her a chance, isn't it?" Lily agreed, ignoring the subtle warning signals. How Vivian's smile disappeared when Thomas looked away. How her interest in the bookstore manifested only when discussing its financial aspects. How her compliments toward Lily always contained veiled criticisms. "You're quite pretty when you make an effort," Vivian would say, "or your intelligence would be impressive if you applied it to something practical, rather than fantasy novels." For Thomas's sake, Lily maintained the peace, never confronting these subtle jabs. Their life continued with a new rhythm, different but still anchored by her father's steadfast presence and the heartbeat of their beloved bookstore. The day everything fractured began like any other. Thomas kissed Lily's forehead before heading to open the shop, promising to bring home her favorite pasta from Giovanni's for dinner. By noon, his heart had given out among the books he loved. A first edition Dickens open on the counter beside him. The funeral blurred in Lily's memory, a procession of sympathetic faces, murmured condolences, and the suffocating scent of too many flower arrangements crowded into their living room. At 17, she stood beside Vivian, accepting hugs from people whose faces swam through her tears, feeling as though the ground beneath her feet had disappeared. "Your father would want us to be strong," Vivian told her, a comforting hand on her shoulder, while cameras captured the grieving widow and stepdaughter. The local newspaper ran a feature on Thomas, celebrating his contribution to the community and detailing how his death had left his devoted wife to care for his young daughter. The first changes came subtly. Vivian needed time to process her grief, so the bookstore remained closed, then operated on reduced hours with a hired manager. Lily's suggestions about keeping her father's traditions alive, the children's reading hour, the local author showcases, were dismissed as impractical and sentimental. "We need to focus on profitability now," Vivian explained, her tone implying Lily was naive for thinking otherwise. "Your father's generosity was admirable but unsustainable." Within 3 months, Rosa's Books and Curiosities was sold to a developer planning to convert it into an upscale wine bar. Lily learned about the sale when the sold sign appeared in the window. "It was too painful to keep it," Vivian explained when confronted. "Surely you understand. Every time I walked through those doors, I saw Thomas." Her voice broke convincingly, though her eyes remained dry. That night, Lily cried until no tears remained, mourning not just her father but the living memorial to his passion. The books, including rare volumes Thomas had collected throughout his life, were sold in bulk to various dealers. When Lily tried to claim certain meaningful titles, Vivian informed her they'd already been shipped out. "You need to look forward, not backward," Vivian advised. "Clinging to material objects won't bring him back." As months passed, Vivian's facade cracked further. The warm, supportive stepmother vanished, replaced by a woman focused entirely on her own comfort and status. The house underwent a dramatic renovation that erased Thomas's presence. His study converted to Vivian's meditation room, family photos replaced by abstract art, even his garden replanted with ornamental shrubs that required less maintenance. Lily's position shifted from beloved daughter to inconvenient reminder. Her college fund, carefully built by Thomas over years, became temporarily inaccessible due to estate complications. When Lily requested to see the relevant documents, Vivian's response was cutting. "I'm handling the legal matters, dear. Your father wouldn't want you burdened with such tedious details while you're grieving." Friends noticed the change in Lily's circumstances. Mrs. Chen, bringing homemade soup one evening, witnessed Vivian ordering Lily to repaint the fence before an upcoming garden club meeting. "You're treating her like hired help," the elderly woman observed quietly. Vivian's smile remained pleasant, but her eyes hardened. "We're teaching responsibility." Thomas coddled her. After Mrs. Chen left, Vivian made her expectations clear. "While you live under my roof, you'll contribute. I'm not running a charity." Gradually, Lily's freedoms disappeared. Her car, a graduation gift from her father, needed expensive repairs and was sold. Her phone plan was downgraded to reduce unnecessary expenses. Her bedroom furniture was replaced with pieces from the guest room because the antique set would fetch a good price. Each change came with a reasonable-sounding explanation, yet the cumulative effect isolated Lily from both resources and support systems. By her 18th birthday, the vibrant, confident girl had become quiet and watchful, carefully navigating the emotional minefield her home had become. "Your father wasn't as financially secure as you might think," Vivian announced one evening over dinner. The bookstore was barely breaking even. His life insurance barely covered outstanding debts. This contradicted everything Lily knew about her father's careful financial planning. Thomas had maintained a modest lifestyle, specifically to ensure his daughter's future security. He'd spoken openly about the trust fund established for her, the investment portfolio that would fund her education, and his life insurance policy. When Lily expressed doubt, Vivian produced documents showing business loans, credit card debt, and medical expenses. "He kept these concerns from you to protect you," she explained with practiced sympathy. "I've been trying to shield you from the harsh reality." The documents looked legitimate to Lily's inexperienced eyes. Yet something felt wrong. She began secretly searching for her father's original papers, looking through storage boxes late at night when Vivian attended social functions. In the attic, tucked inside a weathered copy of Great Expectations, she found a letter from Thomas's lawyer confirming her trust fund, substantially larger than she'd realized, and details of the shop's actual value. The discovery sent ice through her veins. Vivian had been systematically lying, possibly forging documents. Before Lily could act on this information, economic troubles hit Willowbrook hard. The fishing industry collapsed under new regulations, tourism declined due to consecutive stormy seasons, and property values plummeted. Businesses closed, including the cafe where Lily had found part-time work. "The house needs extensive repairs we can't afford," Vivian announced. "We may need to consider downsizing." The timing seemed suspiciously convenient. Lily suspected another manipulation but lacked proof and resources to challenge it. Without money for legal advice and with her father's attorney relocated to Florida, she had no allies with enough influence to help. Then came Vivian's solution to their financial troubles. "I've been networking," she said over breakfast, stirring honey into her tea, "and I've found an exceptional opportunity. The Blackwood estate is seeking someone with library experience. The position includes accommodation and excellent compensation." Her stepmother's eyes gleamed with an emotion Lily couldn't quite identify. "Marcus Blackwood is one of the most successful men in the country. This connection could change everything for us. For you." The way Vivian emphasized "for you" sent warning signals through Lily's mind. Yet with no job, dwindling savings, and her inheritance apparently gone, what choice did she have? "When would I start?" she asked quietly. Vivian's smile widened. "I've already accepted on your behalf. You leave next week." Before we continue with Lily's journey to Westwood Estate, I want to thank all of you amazing viewers who've stuck with the story so far. Your support means everything to this channel. If you're enjoying this incredible tale of betrayal and resilience, please hit that like button right now. It truly helps the channel reach more story lovers like yourself. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another powerful story on Mr. Ross Story Trail. Now, let's find out what awaits Lily at the mysterious Blackwood Estate, and whether her stepmother's opportunity is actually something much more disturbing. The car wound through imposing iron gates that opened automatically upon approach, revealing a long, tree-lined driveway that seemed to stretch endlessly before her. Lily clutched her single suitcase on her lap, containing the few possessions Vivian had deemed appropriate for her new position. Westwood Estate emerged gradually from behind a curtain of ancient oak trees. The main house stood 3 stories tall, a blend of modern architecture and classic stone that managed to appear both timeless and cutting-edge. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the afternoon sun, giving the impression that the building itself was watching her arrival. "We're here, miss," the driver announced, bringing the vehicle to a stop before a wide set of stone steps. Lily stepped out, feeling immediately out of place in her simple navy dress and worn cardigan. The ground stretched in every direction, perfectly manicured gardens to her right, a glimpse of what appeared to be a lake to her left, and behind the main house, the dense woods that gave the estate its name. The air smelled different here, cleaner with notes of freshly cut grass and distant pine. No salt in the breeze, no familiar sounds of Willowbrook's harbor. The isolation struck her immediately. The nearest neighboring property must be miles away, hidden behind the extensive woodland surrounding the estate. A staff member appeared so quietly that Lily startled when he spoke. "Miss Rose, please follow me. Mrs. Chen is expecting you." The entrance hall was a study in controlled elegance. High ceilings, marble floors, and modern art pieces that likely cost more than her father's entire bookstore. Nothing felt lived in or personal. It was beautiful but cold, like a museum after hours. Her footsteps echoed as she followed her guide through a series of corridors, each turn revealing another glimpse of extraordinary wealth, a casual display of sculptures, walls lined with what appeared to be original paintings, furniture that belonged in design magazines rather than actual homes. "How many people live here?" Lily asked, trying to orient herself in what felt increasingly like a maze. "Just Mr. Blackwood, miss," came the reply. "Though he's rarely in residence for extended periods." The idea seemed absurd, all this space for one person who barely used it. Her entire childhood home could fit into what appeared to be just one wing of this mansion. Mrs. Chen waited in a bright sitting room, a petite woman in her 60s with silver-streaked black hair pulled into a neat bun and posture that suggested military training rather than household management. Her eyes, sharp and assessing, softened slightly when they landed on Lily. "Miss Rose, welcome to Westwood." She gestured to a chair opposite her own. "Please, sit. Tea?" Lily accepted gratefully, her throat dry from the journey and the overwhelming first impression of the estate. The familiar ritual of tea service provided a momentary comfort in this alien environment. "I am the estate manager," Mrs. Chen explained, her voice carrying a trace of an accent Lily couldn't quite place. "I oversee all aspects of Westwood's operation and staff. You will report directly to me." She passed Lily a thin folder. "Your contract and position details. Please review them carefully." Lily opened it, scanning the contents with growing confusion. The position described, personal library assistant and correspondence manager, seemed far more sophisticated than the housekeeper role Vivian had described. The compensation listed was substantial, including not just salary, but health benefits and a personal discretionary budget. "I think there might be a mistake," Lily began. "My stepmother said." "Your stepmother's understanding of the position was limited," Mrs. Chen interrupted smoothly. "Mr. Blackwood requires someone with literary knowledge and organizational skills. Your background in your father's bookstore makes you qualified." The mention of her father caught Lily off guard. "You know about my father?" "We conduct thorough background checks on all staff," Mrs. Chen replied, neither apologetic nor elaborating further. "Now, about your duties." The explanation that followed outlined responsibilities that seemed almost tailored to Lily's abilities. The primary task involved organizing and cataloging Mr. Blackwood's extensive private library, which had apparently grown haphazardly over years of acquisitions without proper system. Secondary duties included managing personal correspondence, organizing digital archives, and occasionally researching topics of interest to Mr. Blackwood. "Your accommodation is in the East Wing." Mrs. Chen rose, indicating the interview had concluded. "Not staff quarters, but a guest suite. Mr. Blackwood prefers his library assistant to have comfortable accommodations near the main library." This detail, too, contradicted Vivian's description of where Lily would be living. Nothing about this arrangement matched what her stepmother had led her to expect. "When will I meet Mr. Blackwood?" Lily asked, following Mrs. Chen down another corridor. "He's currently abroad on business. You'll have several weeks to familiarize yourself with the library before his return." Mrs. Chen paused at a door, producing a key card. "This is yours. It provides access to your suite, the library, and common areas. Staff dining is at 7 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. in the kitchen. You may also request meals in your rooms if you're working late." She handed over the card, then fixed Lily with a direct gaze. "One final thing, Ms. Rose. Mr. Blackwood values discretion above all else. Whatever you see or hear within these walls remains confidential. Is that understood?" Lily nodded, wondering what secrets such a place might hold. Her first night at Westwood, Lily could barely sleep, despite the luxurious bedroom that was larger than the entire upper floor of her childhood home. The silence was too complete, the bed too perfect, the surroundings too unfamiliar. Around 3 in the morning, she gave up and used her keycard to access the library. The space took her breath away. 2 stories tall with a wrapping mezzanine, walls lined floor to ceiling with shelves, and rolling ladders providing access to upper levels. A massive desk occupied one end beneath a domed skylight, while comfortable reading areas with plush chairs were arranged throughout the space. And the books, thousands of them, from leather-bound first editions to modern releases, arranged in what appeared to be no discernible order. The collection dwarfed her father's bookstore in both size and value. On the desk sat a laptop and a folder marked Library Project. Inside, she found notes in a precise, angular handwriting. System needed, chronological, subject matter, value, decide, current state unacceptable. This glimpse into Marcus Blackwood's thinking intrigued her. She booted up the laptop, finding it unlocked and containing several spreadsheets with partial book inventories, attempts at cataloging that had apparently been abandoned. Curiosity piqued. Lily began researching her enigmatic employer. The library contained a dedicated workstation with high-speed internet access, and she spent hours reading everything available about the man who now, essentially, controlled her future. Marcus Blackwood's story was both well-documented and mysterious. Orphaned at 12 when his parents died in a private plane crash, he had shown exceptional talent with computer systems even as a child. His intelligence earned him scholarships to exclusive schools despite his impoverished circumstances after his parents' death. At MIT, he developed the algorithm that would become the foundation of his fortune, a revolutionary approach to data processing that transformed multiple industries. He founded Blackwood Technologies at 23, and within 5 years had built it into a billion-dollar enterprise. Yet despite his success, Marcus remained intensely private. He declined interviews, avoided public events, and was rarely photographed. The few images Lily found showed a tall man with dark hair and serious eyes, always in tailored suits, always slightly turned away from the camera, as if reluctant to be captured. Business journals described him as brilliant but difficult, demanding but fair, and pathologically private. Former employees spoke of his exacting standards and occasional bursts of unexpected generosity. No scandals, no public relationships, no flashy displays of wealth beyond the secluded estate and homes in several international locations. The more Lily learned, the more questions formed. What kind of man built such wealth yet seemed so detached from enjoying it? Why maintain this enormous estate while rarely being present? And why hire someone specifically to organize a library he apparently seldom used? By morning, Lily had formulated a plan. If she was here to organize this magnificent collection, she would do so with the expertise and care her father had taught her. This task, at least, felt familiar and meaningful. She began by surveying the entire collection, moving systematically through sections and taking inventory. The books ranged from priceless first editions of classical literature to obscure academic texts on technology, philosophy, and history. The collection revealed a mind of broad interests and deep curiosity. Days blended together as Lily immersed herself in the work. She developed a hybrid classification system combining subject matter, chronology, and significance. Each volume was entered into a database of her creation, with notes on condition, edition information, and content summary. Mrs. Chen observed her progress with quiet approval. "You work as though these books belong to you," she remarked one afternoon, bringing tea unasked. "Books deserve respect," Lily replied simply. "My father taught me that." Something like appreciation flickered across Mrs. Chen's composed features. "Mr. Blackwood will be pleased. The previous attempts at organizing his collection were inadequate." As weeks passed, Lily settled into a rhythm. During the day, she lost herself in the library project, finding unexpected joy in bringing order to literary chaos. In evenings, she explored, the grounds gradually mapping the estate in her mind, nodding hello to groundskeepers and kitchen staff who seemed surprised by her friendly acknowledgement. Yet beneath this external adaptation, Lily's mind wrestled with unanswered questions. Why had Vivian described this position so differently? The finder's fee her stepmother had mentioned, had that been real? If so, what exactly had Vivian sold? Lily's services, or something more? The comfort of her surroundings only heightened her unease. This wasn't servitude as she'd feared, but neither was it normal employment. The isolation, the luxury, the absence of her employer, everything felt slightly off-center, like a book shelved in the wrong section. Each night before sleep, Lily reminded herself of her goals, learned the truth about her inheritance, save enough to eventually claim independence, and protect herself from whatever scheme Vivian had orchestrated. The library provided not just purpose but strategic advantage, access to information, technology, and time to plan her future. "I will not be a victim," she whispered to herself one night, standing before the window overlooking the moonlit gardens. "Whatever game is being played here, I'll discover its rules and find my way through." Little did she know that Marcus Blackwood's imminent return would change everything she thought she understood about her situation, the man himself, and her own capacity for courage. 3 weeks into Lily's residence at Westwood, a violent storm swept across the region. Rain lashed against windows while wind howled through the estate's grounds, bending trees and scattering leaves across manicured lawns. Despite the weather, Lily worked late in the library, absorbed in cataloging a collection of rare philosophy texts she'd discovered hidden behind more common volumes. Thunder cracked directly overhead, causing the lights to flicker momentarily. Lily glanced up from her work, momentarily disoriented by the semi-darkness. When the power stabilized, she returned to her task, climbing the rolling ladder to reach a shelf near the ceiling. Lightning flashed, illuminating the library in stark white light. In that brief electric moment, Lily saw a figure standing in the doorway, a tall man in a dark suit, watching her. She gasped, nearly losing her grip on the ladder. The lights flickered again, plunging the room into complete darkness for several seconds. When they returned, the man had moved into the room. "Don't fall," he said, his voice deep and measured. "That would be an unfortunate first meeting." Lily carefully descended, her heart racing from both surprise and the sudden realization of who must be standing before her. Up close, Marcus Blackwood appeared younger than his 32 years, but carried himself with unmistakable authority. His features were striking, rather than conventionally handsome. Intense dark eyes, strong jawline, and an expression that suggested he was constantly processing information. "Mr. Blackwood," she managed, straightening her simple blouse. "We weren't expecting you until next week. Plans change," he replied, moving past her to examine the desk where her cataloging system was displayed on both laptop and paper. "You're Lily Rose." It wasn't a question, but she nodded anyway. "Yes, sir, not sir. Marcus is fine." He picked up one of her handwritten index cards, studying it with unexpected interest. "You've developed your own classification system. The standard methods didn't seem adequate for your collection," Lily explained, finding her voice. "You have everything from 15th century manuscripts to modern technical manuals. I created a hybrid approach that preserves both chronological context and subject relationships while noting special characteristics of individual volumes," he finished, scanning her notes. "Impressive." Thunder boomed again, rattling the windows. Marcus didn't flinch, continuing his assessment of her work with methodical focus. Lily stood awkwardly, unsure whether to continue explaining or wait for questions. "You worked in your father's bookstore," he stated, again not a question. "Yes, for most of my life," she confirmed, wondering how much he knew about her background. Marcus turned to face her fully, his gaze direct and analytical. "Why are you here, Ms. Rose?" "That's what you're doing," he interrupted. "Not why you're here. Your qualifications exceed this position. You're clearly intelligent, educated, capable. Yet you're living on my estate, cataloging my books rather than pursuing university or career opportunities elsewhere." Lightning flashed again, illuminating his expression, not suspicious or unkind, but intensely curious, as if she presented a puzzle he couldn't immediately solve. "Sometimes circumstances limit our choices," Lily answered carefully. Something in her response seemed to satisfy him, at least temporarily. He nodded once, returning his attention to her classification system. "Continue your work. We'll speak again tomorrow." With that, he turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. "The organization system is excellent. Your father taught you well." Before Lily could respond, he was gone, leaving her with the storm, the books, and the unsettling sensation of having been thoroughly evaluated. The following morning, Lily found Marcus in the library when she arrived, examining the sections she'd already completed. He wore casual clothes, dark jeans and a gray sweater, making him appear more approachable than the suited figure from the previous night. "Good morning," she greeted, uncertain of the protocol for interacting with her employer. "You've organized the philosophy collection by school of thought rather than chronology," he observed, not bothering with greeting. "Why?" Lily set down her coffee mug. "The influences between philosophical movements aren't strictly linear. This arrangement shows intellectual relationships more clearly than a timeline would." A hint of approval crossed his features. "Show me the rest." For the next hour, Lily guided Marcus through her organizational system, explaining her rationale for each decision. He asked pointed questions that revealed both his intelligence and familiarity with his collection. Unlike many wealthy collectors who acquired books as status symbols, Marcus had clearly read most of his volumes. "Your background check mentioned your father's death," he said abruptly as they examined the mathematics section. "I'm sorry for your loss." The unexpected sympathy momentarily silenced Lily. "Thank you," she finally replied. "It's been nearly 2 years, and your stepmother arranged this position. Again, not a question." Lily tensed, wondering how much he knew about Vivian's arrangement. "Yes, she did." Marcus studied her face with that same analytical intensity. "Interesting.
Mrs. Chen speaks highly of your work ethic. She rarely approves of anyone."
"She's been very helpful," Lily offered neutrally. "She doesn't suffer fools or incompetence. Neither do I." He closed the book he'd been examining. "I'll be working from home for the next few weeks. You'll continue your project, but I may require additional assistance with research occasionally." "Of course," Lily agreed, still trying to gauge his personality. "One more thing," he added, heading toward the door. "The East Wing Library needs attention next. It contains family records and correspondence dating back 3 generations, entirely disorganized." As he left, Lily realized their entire conversation had been an assessment. He'd tested her knowledge, observed her methods, and evaluated her responses. Unlike the previous night's encounter, she felt she'd passed some unspoken test. Later that day, Mrs. Chen confirmed her suspicion. "Mr. Blackwood rarely speaks directly with staff," she remarked while delivering lunch to the library. "He must find your work satisfactory." "He's not what I expected," Lily admitted. Mrs. Chen's expression remained neutral. Few people see beyond his reputation. Mr. Blackwood prefers it that way. Over the following days, a pattern emerged. Marcus would appear in the library at unpredictable times, sometimes asking direct questions about her cataloging progress, other times working silently at the main desk while Lily continued her tasks. These quiet, co-working sessions grew increasingly comfortable, punctuated by occasional discussions about books they both had read. During one such afternoon, Lily was organizing a collection of classic Russian literature when Marcus spoke from his corner of the library. "You've read Dostoevsky in the original Russian?" Lily looked up, surprised. "How did you know that?" "Your notations on the translation discrepancies?" He gestured to her catalog notes. "You couldn't have known those without reading the original text." She smiled slightly. "My father believed in comprehensive education. We had a Russian couple who frequented the bookstore. They taught me, in exchange for rare books my father found for them." "How many languages do you speak?" "4 fluently. English, Russian, French, and Spanish. I can read basic Italian and German." Marcus considered this information. "Yet you never attended university." The observation stung slightly. That was the plan. "Before my father died." Something shifted in his expression. Not quite sympathy, but recognition. "Plans change." He echoed his words from their first meeting. "Not always for the worse." The comment surprised her. "Did your plans change after your parents died?" The moment the question left her lips, Lily regretted it. Too personal, too direct. But instead of shutting down the conversation, Marcus seemed to consider the question seriously. "Completely. I was supposed to become a theoretical physicist. Instead, I built technology systems." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Life rarely follows our expected trajectory. This glimpse beneath his composed exterior fascinated Lily. She ventured another question. "Do you regret the change in direction?" "No." His answer came without hesitation. "Different doesn't mean worse, just unexpected." Their conversation shifted to safer topics, the merits of various translations, the relationship between language and thought, but something had changed. A barrier had lowered, if only slightly. The next morning, Lily found a stack of books on her desk, advanced texts on library science and rare book preservation that would help with her cataloging project. No note accompanied them, but the message was clear. Marcus had noticed her interests and supported her continued learning. By the third week of Marcus's residence at Westwood, Lily had developed a theory. Her employer was studying her as carefully as she was studying him. She would enter the library to find evidence he'd been reviewing her completed sections overnight. He asked increasingly specific questions about her methodology. Once, she caught him watching her work from the mezzanine level, his expression thoughtful. The dynamic shifted again when Marcus requested her assistance with research for an upcoming project. "I need comprehensive information on sustainable energy innovations in developing nations," he explained, providing a list of specific questions. Lily threw herself into the task, drawing on resources beyond the library, academic databases, international journals, and cutting-edge research papers. She compiled her findings into a concise report, organizing the information for maximum clarity. When she delivered the results, Marcus read through her work with that same intense focus he applied to everything. "This exceeds what I asked for," he noted, reaching the supplementary analysis she'd included. "You wanted comprehensive information," Lily replied. "The additional perspectives seemed relevant to your questions." He studied her for a moment. "You enjoy research. I enjoy solving puzzles," she corrected. "Research is just methodical puzzle solving." This earned her another ghost smile. An apt description. The next day, 3 more research requests appeared on her desk, each more complex than the previous. Lily recognized them for what they were. Tests of her capabilities, challenges to measure her limits. She met each one, often working late into the night, not from fear or obligation, but from genuine engagement with the intellectual problems presented. For the first time since her father's death, Lily felt her mind fully engaged, her abilities valued. One evening, as she compiled data for a particularly complex analysis, she looked up to find Marcus watching her from the doorway. "You haven't stopped working for 14 hours, he observed. Lily blinked, realizing he was right. "I lost track of time. Why push yourself this hard?" The question seemed genuine rather than critical. Lily considered her answer carefully. "Because I can," she finally said. "Because using my mind like this, being challenged, solving problems that matter, it's what I was meant to do, what I thought I'd lost when my father died, and university became impossible." Marcus crossed the room, examining her latest work displayed across multiple screens. "You haven't lost anything," he said quietly. "Your circumstances changed. Your capabilities remain." The simple validation in his words affected Lily more deeply than she expected. For a moment, neither spoke, the silence in the library comfortable rather than awkward. "Get some rest," Marcus finally said. The work will wait until tomorrow." As Lily gathered her things to leave, she realized something had fundamentally shifted between them. The employer-employee dynamic remained, but alongside it had grown something else, a mutual respect built on recognized capability and shared intellectual curiosity. This story is getting intense, isn't it? If you're enjoying this unexpected connection forming between Lily and Marcus, now is the perfect time to hit that like button. Your engagement helps me create more captivating stories like this one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join our storytelling community right now by clicking subscribe and turning on notifications. You definitely don't want to miss what happens next between these two complex characters. Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll discover what happens when Marcus uncovers the truth about how Lily really came to Westwood Estate. The revelations ahead will change everything between them. Drop a comment with your predictions about what might happen next. As autumn painted the Westwood grounds in gold and crimson, Lily and Marcus settled into a productive rhythm that transcended the conventional employer-employee dynamic. Their shared workspace in the library had evolved from initially awkward encounters to a comfortable collaboration marked by mutual respect. One rainy afternoon, as they reviewed a collection of historical maps Marcus had acquired from a European auction house, Lily noticed him watching her rather than the documents. "Is something wrong?" she asked, glancing up from a particularly detailed rendering of ancient trade routes. "You've been here nearly 2 months, he observed. "Yet you've never asked about returning to town, visiting friends, or even shopping. Most people would feel trapped." Lily carefully considered her response. "I don't feel trapped. I feel purposeful." She gestured to the organized shelves surrounding them. "This work matters to me. That doesn't explain your isolation." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps I don't mind the solitude. Willowbrook holds few happy memories now." Marcus accepted this with a nod, though something in his expression suggested he sensed the partial truth in her answer. "I'm traveling to Chicago tomorrow," he said, changing the subject. "There's a technology conference where I'm giving the keynote address. I'd like you to accompany me." The unexpected invitation caught Lily off guard. "Me? Why?" "Because you've read every paper published on quantum computing this year and compiled the most comprehensive analysis I've seen." He spoke matter-of-factly, as if her intellectual contributions were self-evident. "Your insights would be valuable during the panel discussions." The acknowledgement of her capabilities warmed Lily in a way simple praise never could. Marcus wasn't offering an opportunity based on charity or pity. He genuinely valued her mind. "I don't have anything suitable to wear for a technology conference," she admitted. "Already handled." Mrs. Chen arranged appropriate attire. He returned to the maps as if the matter was settled. "We leave at 8 tomorrow morning." The Chicago trip marked a turning point. For 3 days, Lily moved through a world she'd only glimpsed in business magazines, exclusive hotels, private transportation, and conference rooms filled with the brightest minds in technology. Marcus introduced her not as his assistant but as his research associate, creating space for her to contribute to discussions with industry leaders. On their final evening, during a private dinner with the conference organizers, the CEO of a major tech firm leaned toward Lily. "Where did Marcus discover you?" "He's famously selective about his inner circle." Before she could formulate a response, Marcus answered smoothly. "Mesros has an exceptional analytical mind and unique perspective. Where we connected is less important than why." Later, as they returned to their hotel in a sleek town car, Lily found the courage to ask the question that had been forming since their arrival in Chicago. "Why did you really bring me here?" Marcus studied her for a moment, streetlights casting rhythmic patterns across his features. "Because you belong in this world. The world of ideas, innovation, meaningful work. I wanted you to see it." "And what did you want me to understand?" His gaze held hers steadily. "That circumstances can change again. That temporary situations don't define permanent realities." The conversation shifted something fundamental between them. Back at Westwood, their working relationship deepened further. Marcus began sharing details of upcoming business projects, soliciting her input on strategic decisions, and including her in video conferences with his executive team. For Lily, these weeks brought a revelation. The man behind the billionaire facade was more complex than media portrayals suggested. Yes, Marcus could be demanding and intensely focused, but he also possessed unexpected kindness, dry humor, and genuine intellectual curiosity. He remembered details about her preferences without being told twice. He respected her boundaries without requiring explanation. What she couldn't know was that while their professional connection flourished, Marcus had begun a different kind of project altogether, one focused specifically on her. The first inconsistencies caught Marcus's attention during standard employment verification. The references provided by Vivian Reynolds didn't align with Lily's obvious capabilities. The finder's fee processed by his human resources department raised questions about standard hiring practices being bypassed during his absence abroad. Initially, he dismissed these concerns, focusing instead on Lily's exceptional work. But certain comments she made, careful omissions about her past, her lack of personal connections, her apparent acceptance of isolation, triggered his analytical mind. Something doesn't add up, he told his most trusted attorney during a secure call from his private office. I need complete background on Vivian Reynolds and Thomas Rose, financial records, legal documents, everything. This is unusual, even for you, his attorney noted. Is there a business concern I should know about? Just get me the information. Discretion is essential. The investigation proceeded quietly over several weeks. While Marcus and Lily worked side by side in the library, specialized firms followed paper trails, interviewed Willowbrook residents, and reconstructed financial histories. Each report revealed more troubling details. Thomas Rose's actual estate had been substantial. Property holdings, investment accounts, insurance policies, and trust funds specifically designated for his daughter. Yet nearly all assets had been redirected through a series of legal maneuvers bearing Lily's apparent signatures. Signatures that, when analyzed by experts, showed clear evidence of forgery. The bookstore's sale had grossly undervalued the property and inventory. Tax records indicated Vivian had reported minimal income from the transaction, while banking records showed substantial deposits to offshore accounts. Most disturbing was the placement agreement Vivian had negotiated with Marcus's assistant director of household staffing, a document that read more like indentured servitude than employment. The $50,000 placement fee had been disguised as a recruitment cost in company records. This borders on human trafficking, his attorney warned during their final briefing. Not legally, perhaps, but ethically questionable at minimum. The Reynolds woman essentially sold her stepdaughter's services while simultaneously draining her inheritance. Marcus sat at his desk, photographs of Vivian Reynolds spread before him, the carefully maintained appearance of a grieving widow that masked calculated avarice. Another image showed a younger Lily with her father outside their bookstore, both smiling, unaware of what lay ahead. Options? He asked curtly. We can pursue criminal charges for the fraud and forgery, civil litigation to recover misappropriated assets. Everything can be restored to Miss Rose, though the process will be public and potentially lengthy. Marcus stared at the evidence of betrayal methodically documented before him. He thought of Lily working diligently in his library, her quiet dignity despite everything taken from her. The decision wasn't difficult. Prepare everything, but don't file yet. I need to speak with her first. That evening, as rain fell softly outside, Marcus found Lily in the library's reading alcove, absorbed in a rare first edition. The moment had arrived to shatter the fragile peace they'd established. Did you know your stepmother received $50,000 for placing you here? The question cut through the quiet evening atmosphere like glass. Lily's hands froze on the book she'd been reading, her expression shifting from surprise to careful neutrality. That's a strange question to ask someone, she replied, closing the volume carefully. Marcus moved further into the room, placing a folder on the table between them. Not strange if it's true, is it? Lily stared at the closed folder, conflict evident in her eyes. What exactly are you asking me, Marcus? I'm asking if you came here willingly, knowing the full circumstances of your employment. His voice remained measured, but tension radiated from his posture. I'm asking if you understood that your stepmother essentially sold you to my estate while simultaneously stealing your inheritance. Color drained from Lily's face. She sat motionless for several heartbeats before answering. I learned about the payment just before leaving Willowbrook. I overheard Vivian speaking to a friend, bragging about how much she'd received for placing me. Yet you came anyway. What choice did I have? For the first time since her arrival, real anger flashed in Lily's eyes. She controlled everything. My father's accounts, the house, even the store. I had nowhere else to go, no resources, no proof of what she'd done. Marcus opened the folder, revealing documents organized with methodical precision. You have proof now. Lily scanned the contents, bank statements, property records, forensic analyses of forged signatures, evidence of Vivian's systematic theft laid bare in black and white. Her hands trembled slightly as she turned each page. How long have you known? She asked quietly. I suspected something was wrong almost immediately after meeting you. Marcus sat across from her. Your capabilities didn't match the circumstances of your hiring. The investigation has been ongoing for weeks, so this whole time, while we were working together, you were investigating me? Not you. The situation surrounding you. He leaned forward, his expression intense. Why didn't you tell me? After we began working closely after Chicago, you had opportunities. Lily's laugh held no humor. Tell you what exactly? That your newest employee was essentially trafficked to your estate? That I was hiding from the truth because working here, despite how it started, gave me purpose again? She stood abruptly, moving toward the window. I was ashamed. You have nothing to be ashamed of, Marcus stated firmly. You were victimized. You are not responsible for your stepmother's actions. Aren't I? I suspected what she was doing with my father's estate for months before she arranged this position. I did nothing. Rain streaked the windows, mirroring the tears Lily fought to contain. I kept hoping I was wrong, that she couldn't possibly be that calculating. By the time I accepted the truth, it was too late. Marcus approached slowly, maintaining a respectful distance. It's not too late now. The tension between them stretched like a wire pulled too tight. Lily turned from the window, her composure cracking. Do you know what it feels like? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. To discover the person responsible for your care views you as a commodity? To realize your entire future was stolen while you grieved your father? Her voice strengthened with each word. To find yourself alone, with no allies, no resources, forced to accept an arrangement that felt like servitude. Marcus finished when she faltered. Yes, a single tear escaped despite her efforts, and then to discover that this arrangement, this thing that began with betrayal, actually gave me back part of myself I thought was lost forever. Marcus remained silent, allowing her the space to continue. Working here, organizing your library, conducting research, I felt valued for my mind again, respected for my capabilities. She gestured toward the evidence spread across the table. And now I learn you've been investigating me all along. Was any of it real? Or was I just another problem for you to solve? The raw vulnerability in her question struck Marcus with unexpected force. He moved closer, his customary reserve softening. Everything between us has been real, he stated with quiet intensity. Yes, I investigated the circumstances of your hiring because something felt wrong. But my respect for your work, my recognition of your intelligence, those were never in question. Then why not tell me sooner? Why collect all this evidence secretly? Because I needed to understand exactly what we were facing before offering solutions. He gestured to the documents. Your stepmother's actions weren't just immoral, they were criminal. I wanted to give you options, not just information. Lily studied his face, searching for deception and finding none. The realization that Marcus had undertaken this investigation not to expose or judge her, but to help her reclaim what was stolen, broke something free inside her chest. I never thought justice was possible, she admitted, voice breaking slightly. I believed everything my father built for me was gone forever. Nothing is gone forever, Marcus replied. Altered, perhaps, changed from its original form, but not beyond recovery. The simple truth of his words, reflecting his own journey from orphan child to self-made man, created a moment of profound connection between them. In that shared understanding of loss and rebuilding, something shifted irrevocably. Lily brushed away the tear on her cheek. What happens now? Marcus moved to the table, organizing the evidence with practiced efficiency. That depends entirely on what you want, what I want. Yes. He looked up, his gaze direct and unwavering. This is your life, Lily, your inheritance, your future. You decide how we proceed. The use of we wasn't lost on her. What are my options? First, criminal charges. Marcus outlined each possibility with clarity. My legal team has sufficient evidence for fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation. Vivian would likely face jail time. And everyone would know. It would become public. Yes. Option 2, civil litigation. We pursue recovery of your assets without criminal charges. Less severe for Vivian, but still public record. Lily considered this, weighing justice against exposure. And third, private resolution. Marcus's expression hardened slightly. My team approaches Vivian with evidence. We offer a choice. Return everything voluntarily and disappear, or face both criminal and civil consequences. No publicity unless she refuses. She'll refuse, Lily predicted. She's too proud, too convinced of her own cleverness, perhaps. But facing 20 years in prison tends to adjust one's perspective on pride. He closed the folder. There's no deadline for your decision. Take time to consider what matters most to you. Public justice, financial restoration, or simply closing this chapter with minimal disruption. Lily studied the man before her, powerful enough to crush Vivian with a single phone call, yet respectful enough to offer her agency in her own story. Why are you doing this for me? Marcus considered the question seriously. Initially, because I discovered my company was unwittingly involved in something unconscionable. I don't tolerate exploitation. And now, something shifted in his expression, a rare glimpse beneath his carefully maintained control. Now, it's because I care what happens to you, because you deserve justice and the chance to reclaim your future on your own terms. The simple honesty of his answer touched Lily deeply. Thank you doesn't seem adequate. Then don't thank me. Just decide what you want and we'll make it happen. He moved toward the door, then paused. Whatever you choose, your position here remains secure for as long as you want it. Not out of charity or obligation, but because you've earned it through exceptional work. "Marcus," she called as he reached the threshold. When he turned, she asked the question that had been forming since he first confronted her. "Did you know, when you hired me, about the arrangement?" "No." His answer came without hesitation. "I was traveling when the staffing decision was made. Had I known, it never would have happened." His expression softened slightly. "But I can't regret that it brought you here, despite how it began." With that, he left her alone with the evidence of her past and the first real hope for her future she'd felt in years. The promise in his words, "We'll make it happen," offered more than legal recourse. It offered partnership with someone who saw her true value. For the first time since her father's death, Lily allowed herself to cry freely, not from despair, but from the overwhelming relief of finally being seen, believed, and supported. The morning after Marcus revealed his investigation, Lily arrived at the library to find him waiting with a formal document in hand. "This is a new employment contract," he explained, sliding the papers across the desk. "It reflects your actual contributions and value to Westwood and Blackwood Technologies." Lily scanned the document, eyes widening at the official title, Director of Research and Special Projects. The compensation package, salary, benefits, equity options, was more generous than she could have imagined. "This is too much," she protested. "It's market rate for someone with your capabilities," Marcus countered. "The fact that you were previously undervalued doesn't mean I should continue that practice, but I don't have the credentials." "Credentials are shortcuts for measuring capability," he interrupted. "I prefer direct evidence. You've demonstrated exceptional research skills, analytical thinking, and project management. The title and compensation reflect that reality." Lily studied the contract more carefully. "This position involves travel, occasionally, industry conferences, research facilities, meetings with academic partners." His expression remained professional, but something warmer flickered in his eyes. "I'm not keeping you hidden at Westwood anymore, Lily. Your mind deserves a wider audience." The deliberate correction of what had effectively been her confinement, however comfortable, touched her deeply. He wasn't just offering employment, he was offering freedom. "There's one more thing." Marcus produced another document. "My legal team has prepared everything necessary to begin recovering your inheritance. When you're ready to proceed, just say the word." Lily placed both documents on the desk, overwhelmed by this tangible evidence of her changing circumstances. "Why are you doing all this?" Marcus considered her question with characteristic thoroughness. "Because talent should be nurtured, not exploited. Because injustice should be corrected when possible." He paused, then added more quietly, "And because I've come to value your presence in my life, both professionally and personally." The simple honesty of his admission shifted something between them. For the first time, Lily allowed herself to acknowledge what had been building for weeks, a connection transcending their working relationship. "I accept," she said, reaching for a pen. "Both the position and your help with my inheritance." As she signed her name, Lily felt as though she was signing more than an employment contract. She was claiming a new future, one where she stood on equal footing with the man watching her with quiet approval. With her new role came new freedoms. Lily began accompanying Marcus to business meetings in the city, contributing insights that earned respectful nods from executives 3 times her age. She joined research teams working on Blackwood Technology's latest innovations, quickly becoming a valued voice in development discussions. Yet it was their evenings at Westwood that truly deepened their connection. The library remained their sanctuary, but their interactions evolved from purely professional to genuinely personal. One night, discovering a shared love of chess, they began a game that stretched for hours, neither willing to concede defeat. Another evening found them debating the merits of competing economic theories until dawn lightened the sky, their coffee long cold, but their minds still engaged. "I've never met anyone who can keep pace with me like this," Marcus admitted during one such discussion, the rare compliment offered without calculation or reserve. "Perhaps you've been surrounding yourself with the wrong people," Lily suggested, smiling. "Perhaps I have." Physical awareness grew alongside intellectual connection. Lily found herself noticing details she'd previously ignored. The way Marcus's expression softened when he was truly engaged in conversation, how his hand instinctively moved to the small of her back when they walked together, the rare, genuine laugh she increasingly managed to elicit from him. For his part, Marcus found reasons to extend their time together beyond work requirements. A discussion about Russian literature led to an impromptu reading of Pushkin in the original language, Lily translating passages while Marcus listened, captivated by both the poetry and her voice. A passing mention of her interest in astronomy resulted in a nighttime expedition to Westwood's rarely used observatory, where they tracked constellations until midnight. The estate staff noticed the change. Mrs. Chen, catching Lily smiling at a text from Marcus during lunch, offered a rare comment on personal matters. "He's different with you," the older woman observed. "More present. We work well together, Lily replied diplomatically. Mrs. Chen's knowing look suggested she wasn't fooled. In 30 years of service to the Blackwood family, I've never seen him extend his walks to pass by someone's office 3 times in one morning. The revelation that Marcus deliberately sought opportunities to see her throughout the day warmed Lily in unexpected ways. Their growing closeness remained largely private until Blackwood Technology's annual charity gala, an event that would make their changing relationship impossible to ignore. You'll attend as my guest, not my employee, Marcus explained while briefing Lily about the gala. It's our most significant public event of the year. 800 attendees, mostly industry leaders and major philanthropists. I've never been to anything so formal, Lily admitted, anxiety fluttering beneath her calm exterior, which is why I've arranged something that might help. That something turned out to be a private styling session with one of the country's premier fashion consultants, who arrived at Westwood with a selection of evening gowns that made Lily's breath catch. Mr. Blackwood was specific about colors that would complement your complexion, the stylist explained, displaying options in deep emerald, midnight blue, and rich burgundy, all elegant without being ostentatious. The evening of the gala, Lily stood before her mirror, barely recognizing herself in the selected emerald gown, which caught the light with subtle beating and flowed like water when she moved. Her hair, usually pulled back for practicality, fell in soft waves around her shoulders. When she descended the main staircase, Marcus waited below. His reaction, a moment of complete stillness followed by undisguised appreciation, gave her confidence she hadn't known she possessed. You look beautiful, he said simply. You don't look so bad yourself, she returned, taking in his impeccably tailored tuxedo. The grand ballroom of the city's most prestigious hotel had been transformed for the occasion. Crystal chandeliers reflected off marble floors, while floral arrangements taller than Lily herself created intimate spaces within the vast room. A string quartet played softly as waiters circulated with champagne and delicate hors d'oeuvres. Marcus, there you are. A distinguished older man approached, his gaze shifting curiously to Lily. And with a guest, this is unprecedented. James, meet Lily Rose, Director of Research and Special Projects. Lily, this is James Harrington, our lead counsel and longtime friend. Recognition flickered in James's eyes. He clearly knew exactly who Lily was from the legal proceedings against Vivian. A pleasure to finally meet you, he said, shaking her hand. Your work on the Sustainable Energy Initiative has been remarkable. As the evening progressed, Lily met dozens of people from Marcus's professional circle. Some greeted her with genuine interest, others with barely disguised curiosity about her relationship with a notoriously private CEO. Marcus remained at her side, his hand occasionally resting lightly on her back, introducing her as a valued colleague whose insights had already transformed several key projects. They're all wondering if we're involved romantically, Lily murmured, after one particularly pointed exchange with a board member's wife. Does that bother you? Marcus asked, guiding her toward the dance floor as the orchestra began a waltz. It would only bother me if it undermined my professional standing, she replied honestly. His hand settled at her waist as they joined other couples on the floor. Your work speaks for itself. Anyone questioning your capabilities will be quickly corrected. Dancing with Marcus felt as natural as their intellectual discussions. He led confidently but respectfully, adapting to her movements as she to his. In the center of the crowded ballroom, surrounded by the elite of the business world, Lily felt strangely as though they were completely alone. Everyone is watching us, she noted, glimpsing the interested gazes following their progress. Let them watch, Marcus replied, drawing her slightly closer. I'm not concerned with their opinions. What are you concerned with? His eyes held hers with unexpected intensity. Only yours. The gala continued well past midnight, but shortly after 11, Marcus leaned close to Lily's ear. Would you mind if we left early? They slipped away discreetly, leaving the glittering event behind. In the back of his car, Lily expected they would return to Westwood, but Marcus gave the driver different instructions. Where are we going? She asked as they headed in an unfamiliar direction. Somewhere I've been wanting to show you. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the waterfront where the city's oldest district met the harbor. Marcus led her along a private dock to where a classic wooden sailboat waited, lights glowing softly from within its cabin. You sail? Lily asked, surprised by this unknown facet of him. It's the only hobby I've maintained since childhood, he admitted, helping her aboard. My father taught me when I was 7. After he died, it became my way of remembering him. The significance of him sharing this private connection to his past wasn't lost on Lily. This wasn't Marcus the CEO or even Marcus the employer. This was simply Marcus the man, offering a glimpse of his true self. Once aboard, he poured 2 glasses of wine and led her to the bow. The city skyline sparkled across the water, while above them, stars punctured the clear night sky. This is beautiful, Lily said softly. Thank you for bringing me here. I come here when I need perspective, Marcus explained. When business concerns or public expectations become too constraining. Out here, none of that matters. They stood side by side at the railing, comfortable silence enveloping them. When Lily shivered slightly in the cool night air, Marcus removed his jacket and placed it around her shoulders, his hands lingering longer than necessary. Tonight, he began, then paused, choosing his words with unusual care. Seeing you with my colleagues, watching you navigate that world so effortlessly, I realized something. Lily turned to face him fully. What did you realize? That what began as professional admiration has become something much more significant. His voice was low, intimate in the darkness. I find myself thinking about you constantly, not just your mind, though that continues to impress me daily, but everything about you. The confession, delivered with such honest vulnerability from a man known for his reserve, took Lily's breath away. She placed her glass down carefully, gathering courage for her own truth. I've been fighting my feelings for you, she admitted, telling myself it was inappropriate given how we met, or that I was confusing gratitude with attraction. And now? His question hung between them, weighted with possibility. Now I know it's neither of those things. What I feel for you exists independently of our circumstances. It would have found me regardless of how we met. Marcus moved closer, one hand gently brushing her cheek. May I kiss you, Lily? The formal request, so characteristic of his respect for her boundaries, made her smile. Yes, she whispered. Please. When his lips finally met hers, the contact was gentle at first, a question rather than a demand. But as Lily responded, the kiss deepened, becoming an answer to questions they'd both been asking for months. His arms encircled her waist while her hands found their way to his shoulders, the night air forgotten in the warmth building between them. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that for a very long time. Why didn't you? She asked, hands still resting against the solid warmth of his chest. Because I needed you to be completely free to choose, he explained. Free from obligation, from power imbalance, from any sense that your position or future depended on reciprocating my interest. The care behind his restraint, the deliberate effort to ensure her complete agency, moved Lily deeply. This was a man who understood power and its potential for misuse, who had waited until she stood on equal footing before revealing his feelings. I choose you, she said simply. Not from obligation or gratitude, but because of who you are. Their second kiss held the promise of everything still to come. As the night deepened around them, Lily and Marcus sat close together in the boat's cabin, sharing conversations that meandered from childhood memories to future aspirations. The professional masks both habitually wore had fallen away, revealing the people beneath. I always dreamed of creating a literacy foundation, Lily confessed, tucked against his side. My father believed books could change lives, especially for children with limited opportunities. I wanted to continue that legacy. Why speak of it in past tense? Marcus asked. That dream is still entirely possible. I suppose I've been focusing on survival for so long, larger aspirations seemed luxurious. Marcus considered this, his arm tightening slightly around her shoulders. What would such a foundation need to succeed? The question sparked her imagination. For the next hour, Lily outlined her vision. Mobile libraries for rural communities, reading programs in underserved schools, technology access for students without home computers, publishing opportunities for diverse voices. You've thought about this in detail, Marcus observed, clearly impressed. It was my father's dream before it was mine, she explained. We used to discuss it on slow afternoons in the bookstore. It's a worthy ambition, one I'd be honored to support. Lily shifted to look at him directly. I don't want your financial support, Marcus. If I do this, I need to build it myself. Instead of offense, his expression showed respect. I understand, but perhaps Blackwood Technologies could be your first corporate partner once you've established the foundation. No strings attached, just aligned missions. The offer, support without control, exemplified how deeply he understood her need for independence. As midnight passed, their conversation turned to Marcus's own closely guarded dreams. Most people assume my ambitions are limited to business success, he admitted. Few know I've been developing sustainable housing technology for disaster-prone regions. Projects that will never be profitable but could save thousands of lives. Why keep that private? Public perception is a double-edged sword. Announcement creates expectation. I prefer to perfect solutions before revealing them. Lily understood his caution but offered gentle challenge. Or perhaps keeping good works private feels safer than risking criticism if they fail. The observation, insightful and direct, might have offended him weeks earlier. Now he considered it thoughtfully. You may be right. I've built walls to protect myself from public scrutiny for so long they've become automatic. Some walls are worth lowering, she suggested, reaching for his hand. I'm learning that, he agreed, interlacing their fingers. With you. As dawn approached, they stood together on deck watching light break across the water. Marcus turned to Lily, his expression more open than she'd ever seen it. Whatever comes next between us, he said quietly, I want you to know that meeting you has changed me. You've reminded me that connection matters more than achievement, that vulnerability requires more courage than success. Lily rose on tiptoes to kiss him gently. And you've shown me that circumstances don't define us, that losing everything can sometimes lead to finding something more valuable. Their embrace against the backdrop of sunrise marked not just the beginning of a relationship, but the merging of two paths that had seemed impossibly separate, a future neither could have imagined when Lily first arrived at Westwood's gates. Wow, things are really heating up between Lily and Marcus. If you're enjoying their blossoming romance as much as I am, make sure to hit that like button right now. This story is just getting to the good part, and you definitely don't want to miss what happens next. Will their newfound romance survive when Lily's stepmother returns with threats? What will happen when their relationship becomes public knowledge? Subscribe right now and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment of this captivating love story. And drop a comment below sharing your favorite moment between Lily and Marcus so far. Your support helps this channel continue bringing you these incredible stories of love, resilience, and redemption. Now, let's continue with our story and see what challenges await our couple. 3 months into Lily and Marcus's relationship, their world had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Weekdays filled with collaborative work at Blackwood Technologies, evenings spent in meaningful conversation, and weekends exploring shared interests, from sailing to visiting obscure bookshops in search of rare editions. The legal proceedings against Vivian progressed quietly. Marcus's team had chosen the private resolution approach, preparing documentation before making initial contact. The process moved methodically, allowing Lily to focus on her new role and relationship rather than dwelling on past injustices. That peaceful existence shattered on a crisp autumn morning when Mrs. Chen appeared at Lily's office door, her typically composed expression visibly strained. There's a situation requiring your attention, she said carefully. Your stepmother is at the main gate, demanding entry. Lily's hand stilled over her keyboard. Vivian is here? Now? Security denied her access, as per standing protocols for unexpected visitors. She became insistent. Mrs. Chen's measured tone couldn't quite conceal her distaste. She claims urgent family business. How did she even know where to find me? Lily wondered aloud, though the answer seemed obvious. Vivian had always excelled at extracting information when it served her purposes. Mr. Blackwood is in a board meeting downtown, Mrs. Chen continued. He's been notified but won't return for at least an hour. Would you like security to remove her from the property? The thought was tempting, but Lily knew Vivian well enough to recognize that forcible removal would only intensify whatever scheme she'd concocted. No, she decided, rising from her desk. I'll speak with her. Please have security escort her to the garden pavilion, neutral ground, away from the main house. As Mrs. Chen departed to relay the instructions, Lily moved to the window, gathering her composure. The woman who had systematically dismantled her life was now at her doorstep, uninvited and unwelcome. Yet the knot of anxiety in her stomach felt different than before, not the crushing fear of someone powerless, but the controlled tension of someone prepared for battle. Vivian Reynolds waited in the garden pavilion, a study in calculated presentation. Her designer outfit, expertly applied makeup, and perfectly styled hair projected affluence and control. Yet Lily, entering the space with deliberate calm, immediately noticed the subtle signs of strain, the slightly desperate gleam in her stepmother's eyes, the too tight grip on her handbag, the overbright smile that failed to reach her gaze. Lily, darling, what a lovely surprise to find you in such impressive surroundings. Vivian gestured expansively at the manicured gardens visible through the pavilion's glass walls. You seem to have landed on your feet quite spectacularly. Why are you here, Vivian? Lily remained standing, refusing the pretense of a warm reunion. Can a mother check on her daughter's welfare? I've been worried sick about you. Stepdaughter, Lily corrected. And you've never worried about anyone but yourself. Vivian's smile hardened at the direct challenge. My, someone's found her voice. Is that what happens when you sleep with the boss? The crude attempt to shame her slid off Lily like water. Again, why are you here? I doubt you drove 3 hours for an awkward reunion. Vivian's facade cracked slightly, revealing the calculation beneath. I've heard interesting rumors about your position at Blackwood Technologies, about your relationship with Marcus Blackwood himself. And these rumors concern you how exactly? Concern me? Darling, I'm delighted. What remarkable advancement from library assistant to... Vivian paused meaningfully. Whatever you're calling yourself now. Director of Research and Special Projects, Lily supplied evenly. And I earned that title through my work, not my relationship. Of course you did, Vivian agreed with exaggerated sincerity. But it does raise interesting questions, doesn't it? About the circumstances of your initial employment, about financial arrangements that might now prove embarrassing for someone of Mr. Blackwood's stature. And there it was, the true purpose of this visit. Not concern, not curiosity, but the opportunity for extortion. Say what you came to say, Vivian. Vivian's predatory smile returned as she opened her designer handbag and withdrew a slim folder. I've been reviewing our financial situation. Things have been rather tight since you left, and I realized there might be value in the full story of how you came to Westwood Estate. She slid the folder across the table, separating them. Inside, Lily found printed copies of tabloid headlines speculating about her relationship with Marcus, social media posts discussing their appearances together at industry events, and, most disturbingly, a copy of the original placement agreement bearing Vivian's signature. Imagine the public's fascination with learning that America's most eligible billionaire bachelor purchased his girlfriend from her desperate stepmother. Vivian's voice dripped with false concern, such a sordid beginning to a fairy tale romance. You can't possibly think this will work, Lily said, closing the folder. Can't I? The media loves nothing more than tearing down the powerful. And while I'm sure Mr. Blackwood has weathered business scandals, a human trafficking controversy might prove more damaging. Vivian leaned forward. Particularly given how quickly your relationship developed after your arrival. That's not what happened, and you know it. What happened and what appears to have happened are rarely the same thing, dear. Perception is reality in today's world. Lily studied the woman across from her, the woman who had smiled at her father's funeral while plotting to steal his legacy, who had manipulated legal documents with practiced ease, who had ultimately sold her stepdaughter when no more assets remained to plunder. How much? Lily asked flatly. Vivian's eyes gleamed with triumph. I'm thinking $2 million would adequately compensate for my silence. A small price for Mr. Blackwood's untarnished reputation, don't you think? And if we refuse, then I take my compelling story to every media outlet that will listen. I've already received interest from several journalists, preliminary inquiries only, of course. I wanted to give you the opportunity to handle this privately first. Lily stood, smoothing her skirt with steady hands. I'll need to discuss this with Marcus. Naturally. I've taken a suite at the Grand Hotel downtown. You have 48 hours to arrange the transfer. Vivian rose, adjusting her jacket with practiced nonchalance. And Lily? This conversation stays between us. If I sense your billionaire boyfriend's legal team becoming involved, I'll release everything immediately. As Vivian moved toward the door, she paused, adding with mock affection, It really is lovely to see you doing so well, dear. Your father would be proud. The mention of her father, wielded as a final casual cruelty, ignited something in Lily that had been building since Vivian's arrival. Years of suppressed anger crystallized into perfect clarity. Don't you dare speak his name, she said, her voice low but unwavering. You didn't know him. You never cared for him. He was just another asset for you to drain and discard. Vivian turned, surprise flashing across her features at the intensity of Lily's response. You've taken enough from me, Lily continued, moving closer. My home, my inheritance, my opportunities, even my dignity. But you don't get to take this too. You don't get to corrupt what I built here with your greed. Careful, dear, Vivian warned, though her confidence seemed slightly shaken. Emotional outbursts won't serve you well. This isn't emotion, this is truth, and it's been waiting a very long time to be spoken. The garden pavilion felt charged with a new energy as Lily stepped closer to her stepmother, years of silent compliance falling away with each word. You miscalculated by coming here, she said, her voice steady despite the rage and hurt fueling it. You thought I was still that frightened girl you manipulated after my father died, the one who believed your lies because the truth was too painful to accept. Vivian's expression hardened. I see success has given you delusions of grandeur. Remember who raised you after Thomas died? Raised me? Lily's laugh held no humor. You systematically isolated me, gaslighted me, and eventually sold me. That's not parenting, Vivian. That's abuse. Always so dramatic. I found you in excellent position with one of the wealthiest men in America. Most people would be grateful. You received $50,000 for placing me here. Where's my gratitude for that transaction supposed to fall? A flicker of unease crossed Vivian's features. Who told you that figure? Does it matter? I know everything now, Vivian. About the forged signatures on my trust documents. About how you undervalued and sold my father's bookstore. About the offshore accounts where you hid the proceeds. The color drained from Vivian's carefully made-up face. You're bluffing, am I? Would you like me to tell you exactly how much is currently sitting in your Cayman Islands account? Or perhaps the details of how you falsified the power of attorney documents after Dad died. Vivian's composure cracked further. Whatever you think you know, I know enough to send you to prison for fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation, Lily interrupted. Documents don't lie, Vivian, and there's a comprehensive paper trail of everything you've done. You can't prove anything, Vivian insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. Actually, we can prove all of it. Marcus's voice came from the pavilion entrance, where he stood with James Harrington, his chief legal counsel. We simply chose to approach this matter privately first, out of respect for Lily's wishes. Vivian's gaze darted between them, calculation replacing shock, so the little orphan girl found herself a powerful protector. How convenient. Marcus isn't protecting me, Lily corrected. We're protecting each other. That's what people do when they care about one another, a concept you've clearly never understood. Very touching, Vivian sneered. But my offer stands. $2 million for my silence about how your relationship began. Otherwise, the world learns how America's most innovative CEO purchased his girlfriend. Marcus stepped forward, his expression calm but resolute. Miss Reynolds, I believe you're operating under several significant misconceptions. Let me clarify them for you. First, Marcus continued, your attempt at extortion has been recorded and witnessed by my chief legal counsel, adding another potential criminal charge to your growing list. James Harrington nodded confirmation, his experienced eyes assessing Vivian with professional detachment. Second, Blackwood Technologies' hiring protocols were circumvented during my absence abroad by an employee who has since been terminated. The company has already implemented enhanced verification procedures to prevent similar situations. Marcus moved to stand beside Lily. And third, we've been anticipating your eventual appearance since our investigation began 3 months ago. Vivian's practiced poise faltered completely. Investigation? A comprehensive forensic accounting and legal review, James elaborated, opening his briefcase to remove a thick binder. Bank records, property transfers, power of attorney documents, trust management, everything concerning Thomas Rose's estate and Lily's inheritance. He laid the binder on the table. The evidence of systematic fraud is overwhelming, Miss Reynolds. Forgery on at least 17 documents, misappropriation of trust assets exceeding $1.4 million, tax evasion, wire fraud across state lines, which makes this a federal case. Each charge landed like a physical blow, draining what remained of Vivian's confidence. You can't possibly expect these accusations to stand up in court, she attempted, though her voice trembled slightly. It would be my word against hers. It would be documented evidence against your denials, James corrected. Financial crimes leave paper trails, Miss Reynolds. Very clear ones in your case. We've prepared criminal complaints ready for filing with both state prosecutors and federal authorities, Marcus added. The estimated sentence for the combined charges ranges from 15 to 20 years. Vivian collapsed into a chair, her carefully constructed facade crumbling completely. This is absurd. I was managing assets that would otherwise have been squandered. Lily was just a child. She had no concept of financial responsibility. I was 18 when you forged my signature on the trust dissolution, Lily reminded her. Legally an adult, and the rightful beneficiary of everything my father left me. James opened the binder, removing a specific document. We've also uncovered evidence that your marriage to Thomas Rose may have been predicated on fraudulent circumstances. Your previous divorce wasn't finalized when you exchanged vows, making your marriage potentially invalid from the beginning. This final revelation seemed to break something in Vivian. Her shoulders sagged as the implications became clear. Without a valid marriage, her claim to any part of Thomas's estate would be nullified entirely. What do you want? She asked, all pretense abandoned. We're prepared to offer you one opportunity to avoid criminal prosecution, James stated, removing another document from his briefcase. This agreement requires full restitution of all misappropriated assets, renunciation of any claims to Thomas Rose's estate, and your permanent relocation outside of the state. You expect me to return over $1 million? Vivian laughed bitterly. That money is gone. Not according to our financial investigation, Marcus countered. Your offshore accounts contain sufficient funds. The remainder can be recovered through the sale of properties purchased with Lily's inheritance. And if I refuse, then we file criminal charges this afternoon, James said simply. The documentation has already been prepared. The choice is entirely yours, Miss Reynolds. Vivian's gaze shifted to Lily, searching for a weakness, a hesitation, any sign of the vulnerable girl she'd once controlled. Finding none, her expression hardened into resentment. You've certainly landed on your feet, haven't you? From bookstore clerk to corporate executive with a billionaire boyfriend. I suppose I should congratulate myself for creating the opportunity. You didn't create anything. Lily replied evenly. You tried to destroy everything my father built for me. The fact that I found happiness and success despite your actions is no credit to you. Marcus placed a supportive hand on Lily's shoulder. The agreement requires your signature today, Ms. Reynolds, along with access information for your financial accounts so transfers can begin immediately. And then what? I'm left with nothing while she gets everything. You'll retain personal assets acquired before your marriage, James clarified. Approximately $300,000 in your personal accounts will remain untouched, considerably more than nothing, and certainly more than you deserve legally or morally. The finality in his tone made it clear no further negotiation would be entertained. Vivian glanced between the three faces watching her, Lily's resolved determination, Marcus's implacable certainty, and James's professional detachment. Fine, she finally said, defeated. I'll sign your agreement. As James placed the document before her, Vivian looked up at Lily one last time. You think this makes everything right? That getting back your father's money will somehow heal what happened? Lily considered the question seriously. No, nothing can undo the past or replace what was lost. But justice matters, Vivian. Truth matters. And ensuring you can never hurt anyone else the way you hurt me matters most of all. The simple dignity in her response left no room for Vivian's usual manipulations. With a hand that trembled slightly, she signed the agreement, effectively ending her claim to Thomas Rose's legacy forever. As James witnessed the signature and gathered the documents, Marcus turned to Lily. Are you all right? Yes, she answered, surprising herself with the truth of it. For the first time in years, I think I really am. Looking at her stepmother, now diminished, stripped of her power to harm, Lily felt not triumph, but release. The inheritance she would reclaim mattered less than the freedom she had found, freedom from fear, from doubt, and from the shadow Vivian had cast across her life for so long. The morning after Vivian signed the agreement, Lily woke to the soft ping of her phone receiving multiple notifications. Beside her, Marcus was already awake, scanning his own device with an expression that shifted from concern to resignation. What is it? She asked, reaching for her phone. It seems our relationship has become headline news, he replied, turning his screen to show her. A major business publication had run a feature on Marcus Blackwood's surprising romance with his former employee. The article, while technically accurate in stating they had met through Lily's employment at Westwood, contained enough suggestive language to imply impropriety without making direct accusations. Lily scrolled through her own notifications. Dozens of messages from unknown numbers, social media friend requests from strangers, and emails from journalists requesting comments. Their private connection had suddenly become public property, dissected and speculated upon by people who knew nothing of their actual story. I expected this eventually, Marcus said, placing his phone aside, though I had hoped for more time before the media circus began. Do you think Vivian leaked the story? Lily asked, still reading through the original article. Possibly, though it doesn't match her usual approach. This is relatively tame compared to the narrative she threatened to create. He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. More likely, someone at the gala spoke to the press. Several people commented on our relationship there. Lily set down her phone, suddenly overwhelmed by the implications. Until now, their relationship had existed in a protected space, known to those within their immediate circle but sheltered from external judgment. That protection had evaporated overnight. What happens now? She asked quietly. Marcus studied her face carefully. That depends on what you want. We have options, which are, we could issue a formal statement through my PR team, controlling the narrative with our version of events. We could refuse to engage, maintaining complete privacy and letting the speculation burn itself out eventually. Or, he hesitated briefly, we could take a break from public appearances together until the interest fades. The last option hung between them, heavy with unspoken concerns. Lily moved closer to him, her decision already made. I'm not hiding, and I'm certainly not taking a break, because some journalists decided our relationship makes for interesting copy. She took his hand, interlacing their fingers. Whatever we face together. The tension in his shoulders eased visibly. Together, then. By afternoon, the initial story had multiplied across media platforms, each iteration adding new layers of speculation. Business journals questioned the professional implications of their relationship. Entertainment sites published photographs of them at the gala, analyzing body language and facial expressions. Social media buzzed with hashtags ranging from supportive to cynical. Lily stared at a particularly sensationalized headline, Bookstore Girl to Billionaire's Boardroom, the mysterious rise of Marcus Blackwood's latest acquisition. They make me sound like a company he purchased, she murmured, scanning the accompanying article that questioned her qualifications and speculated about her meteoric rise within Blackwood Technologies. Marcus, reviewing his own collection of media coverage, looked up with a frown. This level of interest is unusual, even for me. Someone is deliberately feeding information to the press. His suspicion proved correct when a more detailed story appeared that evening, containing specifics that couldn't have come from casual observation. The exact date Lily began working at Westwood, her father's bookstore background, even mentions of her stepmother arranging her employment. Vivian, Lily confirmed, recognizing details only her stepmother could have provided. She signed the agreement, but she's still trying to control the narrative. Fortunately, she's limited by the confidentiality clause. If she explicitly violates it, the financial penalties are severe. Marcus closed his laptop decisively. But she's clearly walking the line, providing just enough information to fuel speculation without directly revealing what she knows. The following days brought a steady stream of new articles and social media commentary. Some business colleagues reached out with supportive messages, while others maintained a telling silence. The board of directors requested a private meeting with Marcus, which he attended alone despite Lily's offer to join him. "They're concerned about perception," he explained upon returning. "Not about our relationship itself, but about potential accusations of favoritism affecting company decisions." "And what did you tell them?" "The truth. That your position was earned through demonstrated capability, that all your projects undergo the same review process as any other directors, and that our personal relationship developed after your professional contributions were already established." "Did they accept that?" "They had little choice. Your work speaks for itself." His expression softened into a rare public smile. "Several board members specifically mentioned your renewable energy initiative as evidence of your value to the company, relationship aside." The validation of her professional standing offered some comfort, but the constant scrutiny began taking its toll. Photographers appeared whenever they ventured out together. Anonymous sources provided increasingly invasive details about their lives, comment sections filled with both support and cruel speculation. "Is this what your life is always like?" Lily asked one evening, after declining a dinner reservation due to reporters waiting outside the restaurant. "It comes in waves," Marcus admitted, "usually tied to business announcements or company milestones, rarely so focused on my personal life." "Because you never had much of a personal life for them to focus on before," she observed with gentle understanding. He acknowledged this with a nod. "Privacy has always been my preference, but I'm finding," he added, drawing her closer, "that some things are worth the inconvenience of public interest." 2 weeks into the media storm, Marcus and Lily sat in his home office, reviewing a proposal from his public relations team. The document outlined a recommended strategy: A. Single exclusive interview with a respected journalist, carefully controlled photographs, and prepared statements addressing the most persistent questions about their relationship. They believed this would satisfy public curiosity while establishing boundaries, Marcus explained, though his tone suggested skepticism. Lily read through the talking points, sanitized versions of their actual story, emphasizing professional collaboration while minimizing personal connection. The suggested narrative felt hollow, a corporate press release rather than the complex, meaningful relationship they'd built. "I hate this," she said finally, setting down the document. "It turns everything genuine between us into a PR strategy." "I agree." Marcus pushed the proposal aside. "So we do this our way instead." Together they drafted their own approach. No exclusive interviews, no staged photographs, no carefully crafted statements. Instead, they would simply live their lives openly, neither hiding nor performing for public consumption. They would continue their professional collaboration at Blackwood Technologies with transparent boundaries between work decisions and personal relationship. They would attend events together when it made sense to do so, and apart when their individual responsibilities required it. Most importantly, they would channel the unwanted attention toward causes they both valued, using the spotlight to illuminate work that mattered. Their first opportunity came at the annual Innovation Summit, where Marcus was scheduled to deliver the opening address. Rather than attending as his silent companion, Lily participated as a panelist discussing educational technology for underserved communities. Her expertise and passion shone through, shifting media coverage from relationship gossip to substantive reporting on the initiatives she championed. When a particularly persistent reporter managed to corner them at the event's reception, asking directly about rumors surrounding the beginning of their relationship, Marcus responded with characteristic directness. "The beginning of any relationship is complex and personal. What matters is that we've built something based on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine care for each other's well-being. The rest is our story, to share or keep private as we choose." The simple dignity of his response, neither defensive nor evasive, set the tone for how they would navigate public interest moving forward, acknowledging its existence without allowing it to dictate their choices or compromise their privacy. As media interest gradually shifted to fresher scandals and newer celebrity pairings, Lily reclaimed the mental space to focus on her own development. With Marcus's encouragement, she enrolled in university courses, determined to complete the education interrupted by her father's death. "I can create a more flexible schedule at Blackwood Technologies," she insisted when Marcus offered to fund her full-time studies. "I value my work there too much to step away completely." They reached a compromise. Lily reduced her company responsibilities to part-time, focusing on key projects while pursuing her degree in business and education. The arrangement allowed her to maintain her professional momentum while building the academic credentials that would support her long-term goals. Her coursework often spilled into their evenings together, with Marcus occasionally offering insights from his own business experience as she completed assignments. In turn, she shared new academic perspectives that sometimes challenged his established thinking, creating a dynamic where both continued to grow through their connection. Alongside her studies, Lily began developing concrete plans for the literacy foundation she dreamed of creating with her father. Marcus kept his promise to support without controlling, connecting her with nonprofit experts while respecting her vision for the organization. "I want to name it after my father," she told Marcus one evening as they reviewed her draft mission statement. "The Thomas Rose Literacy Project." Creating pathways through books, just as he always did, the foundation took shape methodically over the following months. Lily applied her academic learning directly to its development, creating a sustainable model that would survive beyond initial enthusiasm or funding. She assembled a diverse board of directors, established clear governance guidelines, and developed innovative programs targeting communities with limited access to books and educational resources. When the Thomas Rose Literacy Project officially launched, Lily stood at the podium, not as Marcus Blackwood's partner, but as the foundation's executive director, articulating a vision entirely her own. Marcus watched from the audience, his pride evident in his expression as she fielded questions with confidence and clarity. The foundation's first initiative, mobile libraries serving rural communities, garnered attention from education advocates and policymakers. As promised, Blackwood Technologies became a corporate partner, providing both funding and technological infrastructure, but the foundation remained independently governed and true to Lily's original vision. 6 months after signing the restitution agreement, Vivian Reynolds faced the consequences of her actions in ways she hadn't anticipated. Though the private settlement had protected her from criminal prosecution, the financial penalties proved devastating to her carefully constructed facade of prosperity. The offshore accounts were emptied, properties purchased with misappropriated funds were sold. Her remaining assets barely covered basic living expenses, forcing her to downsize dramatically from the lifestyle to which she'd become accustomed. Most painful for someone who valued social standing, rumors of her financial misconduct circulated through her former social circles. Without directly violating the confidentiality agreement, enough information had emerged to permanently damage her reputation among those whose approval she craved. When Lily received notification that the final restitution payment had been processed, completing the restoration of her inheritance, her reaction surprised her. Instead of satisfaction, she felt only a quiet relief that this chapter was closing. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, finding her staring at the notification email. "Yes, just reflective," she replied. "I spent so long fighting to reclaim what was taken from me. Now that it's done, I realize the money matters less than I thought. What matters is that she can never hurt anyone else the way she hurt me." "Justice serves purposes beyond restitution," Marcus observed. "It establishes consequences for actions, creates boundaries for acceptable behavior." Lily nodded, closing her laptop. "The money will go to good use through the foundation. My father would have wanted that." The final piece fell into place when they received word that Vivian had relocated to Florida, effectively removing herself from their lives as required by the agreement. The news wasn't celebrated but acknowledged as the conclusion of a painful chapter. What Vivian could never understand, and what brought Lily the most peace, was how thoroughly she had moved beyond the identity of victim. Director, student, foundation leader, partner, each role reflected her choices rather than her circumstances, her agency rather than her losses. The media scrutiny had faded to occasional mentions. The professional questions about her qualifications had been answered through consistent, exceptional work. The wounds inflicted by Vivian's betrayal had healed, leaving scars that marked her journey without defining her present. Standing on the balcony of the home she now shared with Marcus, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, Lily reflected on the extraordinary distance she had traveled, not just from Willowbrook to Westwood, but from powerlessness to purpose, from isolation to connection, from survival to growth. Marcus joined her, his hand finding hers with the comfortable familiarity of genuine partnership. Together they watched darkness give way to stars, each light a promise of possibilities still unfolding before them. 1 year after the confrontation with Vivian, Lily stood on the sidewalk before a familiar Victorian house with a wraparound porch and garden space where wildflowers once grew. alongside vegetables. Her childhood home in Willowbrook looked smaller than she remembered, its pale blue paint faded, the garden overgrown from neglect. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Marcus asked, standing beside her. "We could still walk away." Lily shook her head. "I need to see it again, to decide what happens next." After Vivian's assets were liquidated to restore Lily's inheritance, the house had reverted to her ownership. For months, she left the decision about its fate unmade, uncertain whether she wanted to reclaim this piece of her past or let it go completely. Now, as Marcus unlocked the front door, she stepped across the threshold into memories both sweet and painful. The entryway where her father had measured her height on the doorframe each birthday. The living room where he'd read her stories on winter evenings. The kitchen where they'd baked together on Sunday afternoons. Vivian had redecorated extensively, erasing many physical traces of Thomas Rose's presence, but she couldn't remove the essence of him that lived in these walls. Lily moved through each room slowly, touching banisters and windowsills, opening closets that still held the faint scent of her father's pipe tobacco. "He taught me to read at this table," she told Marcus, running her fingers along the scratched oak surface in the dining room. "We would spread newspapers out and he'd help me sound out words I didn't know." Upstairs, her childhood bedroom had been converted to a home office, all traces of the young girl who once dreamed there carefully removed. Yet standing by the window, Lily could still see the oak tree where her father had built a small platform. Not quite a treehouse, but a place where she could sit among leaves and imagine different worlds. "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked after they had toured the entire house. Lily considered the question seriously. "I'm thinking that I expected to feel anger or sadness, but instead I feel grateful. This house holds the foundation of who I am. Everything my father taught me here shaped the person I've become." They ended their tour in the backyard garden, now wild with weeds but still retaining the bones of the space Thomas had lovingly tended. The wooden garden bench remained beneath an arbor where climbing roses had once bloomed. "Dad proposed to my mother under this arbor," Lily said, touching the weathered wood. "He planted these roses for their first anniversary." Marcus studied the overgrown space thoughtfully. "What do you want to do with the house, Lily? Keep it? Sell it? Something else entirely?" She smiled, an idea taking shape as she looked around the neglected garden. "Something else. Something that honors what this place meant to my father and me." Over the following weeks, Lily's vision for her childhood home evolved into a concrete plan. The Victorian house would become the headquarters for the Thomas Rose Literacy Project, with the main floor converted into a community library and reading space, and the upper floor housing administrative offices. Marcus supported her decision completely, connecting her with architects who specialized in historical renovations while giving her complete freedom to direct the project. Together they visited regularly to oversee the transformation, watching as workers carefully restored original features while adapting the space for its new purpose. On a warm spring evening, 6 months into the renovation, Marcus suggested they check on the progress of the garden restoration, the final phase of the project. Lily had hired a landscape designer to recreate her father's beloved garden while adding features that would make it accessible for community events and children's reading programs. "The roses should be blooming soon," she noted, as they walked the stone path that now wound through newly planted beds. The arbor had been rebuilt, sturdy new wood replacing the weathered structure, but maintaining the original design her father had created. As they reached the center of the garden where a small fountain now burbled peacefully, Marcus took her hand, his expression unusually nervous. "There's something I wanted to ask you," he began, his typically confident demeanor softened by evident emotion. "This place represents your past, the foundation of who you are, and I was hoping it might also become part of our future." Lily's heart quickened as Marcus reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. "I've been carrying this for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment," he admitted with a self-deprecating smile. "Then I realized the perfect moment isn't about perfect circumstances, but about being with the perfect person." He opened the box to reveal a ring unlike any Lily had expected, not a massive diamond or showy setting, but an elegant band supporting a deep blue sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds. "It reminded me of your eyes," he explained, seeing her surprise, "and of the night on the boat when you first let me kiss you." Marcus took a breath, then continued with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "My life before you was ordered but empty. I built walls to protect myself from disappointment, focusing on achievement rather than connection. You changed that, Lily. You showed me that true strength comes from opening yourself to another person, not from standing alone." He knelt on one knee, still holding her hand. "I love your brilliant mind, your compassionate heart, and your unwavering courage. I love how you challenge me to be better while accepting me exactly as I am. I want to build a life with you, one where we face every challenge and celebrate every joy together." Tears blurred Lily's vision as he asked, Lily rose. "Will you marry me?" Without hesitation, she pulled him to his feet and into her arms. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. 1,000 times, yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, the setting sun broke through clouds to illuminate the garden in golden light. Standing in the place where her father had once proposed to her mother, Lily felt a circle completing, not an ending, but a continuation of love in a new form. They married in the garden on a perfect autumn day, exactly 1 year after his proposal. The ceremony was intimate, with only their closest friends in attendance. Mrs. Chen, who had witnessed their relationship from its complicated beginning, served as Lily's matron of honor. James Harrington stood beside Marcus as best man. Lily wore a simple gown of ivory silk, carrying a bouquet of blue flowers that matched her engagement ring. Marcus, typically formal in business attire, chose a lighter suit that reflected the garden setting rather than boardroom power. Their vows, written by each for the other, spoke of journeys that seemed unlikely to intersect yet somehow found their perfect convergence. Of strength found in vulnerability, and growth born from challenge. Of partnership based on equality rather than obligation. "I promise to value your independence as much as your companionship," Marcus vowed. "To support your dreams with the same dedication I give my own. To remember always that we are strongest when we choose each other freely. Day after day." Lily's voice, steady despite her tears, responded, "I promise to see you completely, not just your success or strength, but your doubts and struggles as well. To build with you a relationship where truth is always safe, growth is always possible, and love is always our foundation." The celebration afterward was as unconventional as their relationship. Guests sharing favorite books instead of signing a traditional guest book, tables named after literary classics they both loved, children from the local school invited to enjoy the garden and receive their own books as gifts. 2 weeks after their wedding, the Thomas Rose Literacy Project officially opened its doors. The Victorian house, now beautifully restored, welcomed community members with comfortable reading nooks, walls lined with books for all ages, and programs designed to make literature accessible to everyone. Lily stood on the porch steps for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Marcus beside her, as she addressed the gathered crowd. "My father believed that books create bridges, between different experiences, different perspectives, different possibilities. This space exists to build those bridges for anyone who seeks them." She gestured to the open door behind her. "Whether you're a child discovering the magic of reading for the first time, a student needing resources for education, or an adult finding comfort or challenge in literature, this house is your house now." The moment the doors officially opened, children rushed in first, their excitement echoing through rooms once shrouded in painful memories. Watching them explore, Lily felt a profound sense of rightness. This transformation honored her father more truly than any monument could have. "He would be so proud of you," Marcus said quietly, standing beside her as they watched the community claim the space. "I think he would be proud of us," she corrected, squeezing his hand. "Of what we've built together." As the foundation flourished over the next year, expanding to include satellite locations in neighboring communities, Lily often reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought her to this point. From the frightened young woman arriving at Westwood Estate to the confident director of a growing nonprofit organization, her path had been neither straight nor easy, but undeniably worthwhile. During a fundraising event celebrating the foundation's first anniversary, she was asked to speak about what motivated her work. Standing before supporters, community members, and Marcus, now her partner in all senses of the word, Lily shared the lessons her journey had taught her. "Life rarely follows a path we expect," she began. "Sometimes it takes our carefully laid plans and completely rearranges them. Sometimes it presents challenges that seem insurmountable. Sometimes it places us in circumstances where we feel powerless or lost." She paused, looking around at the room filled with people who had become part of her extended community. "But what I've learned is that circumstances don't define us. Our responses to them do. Difficulty can crush us or forge us into stronger versions of ourselves. Loss can empty us or teach us to value what remains more deeply. Betrayal can make us bitter or motivate us to create something better." Her gaze found Marcus, who watched her with unmistakable pride and love. "I've also learned that genuine connection with others is both our greatest vulnerability and our greatest strength. When we truly allow someone to see us, our fears, our dreams, our authentic selves, we risk pain, yes, but we also open ourselves to profound support, understanding, and growth." She gestured to the renovated space around them, once her childhood home, now a thriving community resource. "This foundation exists because of that truth. Because relationships matter. Because stories connect us. Because we are all stronger when we share our knowledge, our resources, and our hearts with one another." The message resonated deeply with those gathered. many of whom had followed Lily and Marcus's story through media coverage of their relationship and work. What had begun as gossip-fueled interest had evolved into genuine respect for their combined contributions and evident commitment to each other. 2 years after their wedding, Lily and Marcus stood together on the balcony of their home, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. His arm wrapped comfortably around her waist as she leaned against him, both content in the quiet moment together. "Did you ever imagine we would end up here?" she asked, turning slightly to see his face. "When I first arrived at Westwood, organizing your library?" Marcus considered the question thoughtfully. "I knew immediately you were exceptional. But no, I couldn't have predicted this specific outcome." His lips curved into a smile. "I'm typically excellent at predicting results, but you defied all my calculations. In good ways, I hope," she teased. "In the best possible ways." He kissed her temple gently. "You reminded me that the most valuable aspects of life can't be measured or controlled. They can only be experienced and appreciated." Lily nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most extraordinary journeys. Their story, beginning in circumstances neither would have chosen, had blossomed into a partnership built on mutual respect, shared purpose, and genuine love. The path forward wasn't perfectly clear. Life rarely offered such certainty, but they would walk it together, each step strengthened by the other's presence. As night fell around them, stars emerging in the darkening sky, they remained on the balcony. Two people who had found in each other not just love but true partnership, the kind that acknowledges imperfections, celebrates strengths, and commits to growth day after day, choice after choice. Their journey continued, not as a finished tale but as an ongoing story written together, page by page, chapter by chapter, each day adding new meaning to what had come before. What an incredible journey we've witnessed between Lily and Marcus. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button right now. Your support truly means everything to this channel. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story on Mr. Ross Story Trail. Each story I share contains valuable life lessons wrapped in captivating narratives just like this one. What was your favorite moment between Lily and Marcus? Was it their first meeting in the thunderstorm, their dance at the gala, or perhaps the beautiful garden proposal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you know someone who would enjoy this story of resilience, love, and finding strength through connection, please share this video with them. Stories like these remind us that no matter what challenges we face, we all have the capacity to write new chapters in our lives. Thank you for joining me on this story trail. I'll see you in the next adventure.